Hey guys, welcome to What They Don't Teach You in School. My name is Etienne Martel, and today I have Lisa Hylton with me. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes.
She is the host of the Level Up REI podcast. Sorry,
Yes.
the Level Up REI podcast. She's a lover of real estate investing, and she's a real estate syndicator as well. So, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And it's also good because I was on your podcast previously. So now we're going to switch sides. You're going to
That's
join
right.
mine. So, yeah.
Exactly. A little podcast swap here.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. So, did you want to kind of do a little introduction for everyone
Yeah,
and give some background?
sure. So as ATN said, my name is Lisa Hilton. I am a real estate syndicator. And I live in Los Angeles, but I'm originally from the Cayman Islands. But I've been in the US now for over 10 years. And my background is in financial services. So I've been working in financial services as an accountant for over 10 years, and currently work as a controller on funds that invest in real estate. So private equity real estate. Um, so
Very nice.
yeah, and then from there, and we'll get into talking about, the path of moving from working W-2 and then into then investing in real estate as well.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, let's do that. So, yeah, you're from the Cayman Islands. Cayman Islands. So that's really cool.
Yes.
When did you move here? Did you say that?
I moved to LA in 2014, and then I
Okay.
moved to the US in 2010. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Nice. Where did you move to originally?
Boston. So I was in
Boston.
Boston for 4 years,
Wow.
and then I've been in LA ever since.
Big change,
So
huh? From Boston to
big change, Boston to
LA.
LA. But I prefer, like, I like both cities, but
Mhm.
I prefer living in LA for, the weather and that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
So yeah.
The
But
beaches.
Boston's a great place to visit.
Okay. I still haven't been there, so I need to go there.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's good.
Yeah.
I recommend in the, late spring, early summer is really good. All
Mhm.
through the summer, all through the fall, Boston's awesome to visit.
Okay.
In the winter, I know you're a LA, California man, so like it's a little bit of a stretch for,
Uh,
for
Too cold,
that's right. It can be on the cold side.
like in Antarctica.
That's right. That's right. But yeah.
Okay. So yeah, when did you get started in real estate investing?
Yeah, so I bought my first property when I was in my maybe early 20s. I was living in Cayman, and my parents were in real estate. So my dad was a contractor and he built 14 apartment units. But a lot of that took place before I was like an adult or even a teenager. So that was like going on when I was like a child and even before I was born.
Was
Um,
that in Cayman?
that was in Cayman.
Okay.
And I didn't really understand per se, like, really understand real estate. I just sort of grew up around it and it was just there and et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
And my father got sick with a brain tumor. I want to say maybe when I was in elementary school, kind of thing, or
Sorry.
somewhere around there. And then 10 or so plus years later, I was now in college, and that's when my father actually passed away. So it took his life.
Mhm.
But because he built those apartments, during all that time, my family was able to sort of make ends meet and be able to take care of, because I'm the eldest of three children that my parents had together. And then my parents also had one child each,
Mhm.
before they met. So they were then able to take care of their children and be able to send them through school and all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
because of that investment. But I never really saw it that way until fast forward. Well, I bought my first property in my early 20s. It was a two
Mhm.
bedroom, two bath. And I bought it because I loved it. Like, I didn't think about numbers. Like, I was just like, oh, this is a great property. It's gorgeous. I'm going to get it.
Was
And
it
I
for
did.
investing or was it to live in?
So it was for investing, but I still didn't really understand the numbers of
Mhm.
it
It was like
that
an
well.
emotional buy more.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
definitely more of an emotional buy.
Okay.
I think I went into it initially thinking I was going to live in it, and then, then considering like renting it out. It broke even the first year, and then lost money every year after that for a total of like 5, almost 6 years.
Okay.
And by that point, I was now living in LA,
Mhm.
and I remember getting a bill in the mail, like $1,000 and something for an AC bill,
Hmm.
because the AC broke down and the tenant called the AC company. And I
Hmm.
was like, oh my goodness, this apartment is draining me. Like, I
Yeah.
gotta get rid of it.
Hmm.
So I finally put it on the market, and then it took like 6 to about maybe a year for it to move to sell. And then once it did, I was like, you know what, I'm not doing that again. I'm sold out, like I'm not doing any more real estate.
Uh-huh.
And then a year after that, I ended up taking a job working at an investment manager working on real estate funds.
Hmm.
And then when I started doing that, I was like, hold on, this real estate thing, like there's clearly people are able to make good money here. They also lose good money too, but
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
that's what sort of started my journey
Okay.
of getting educated on how to then come back and play in the game again.
Uh-huh. That's interesting though that you bought the property kind of before kind of like learning everything. Like that's kind of funny that that you did that. Um sheesh. Do you know like why you ended up losing money after a while? Was it did you
Yeah,
not?
because I didn't buy correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, um, like now, like when I, look at properties, one of the biggest things, like I'm checking to make sure, like if I'm gonna buy, like if I would have bought that condo again, the first thing is like off the bat, you could do the 1% rule,
Mm-hmm.
1% of the value of the property to see if that's what you're going to get in rent. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to get that in rent, then it's almost like, okay, do I go even any further to
Mm-hmm.
do any more? And you could, and then go further to check to see, okay, well, what is my mortgage going to be like?
Mm-hmm.
What's insurance? And then the other thing is on this property, it had a strata.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wait, what's a
that,
strata again?
so yeah, so a strata is like an HOA, which is also like a housing bill kind of thing, like for that complex.
Mm-hmm.
So I would pay like, I believe when I moved in, the strata was like maybe like $300 or $400, and then maybe I think after a couple months or after a year, they moved it up to like 600 because they wanted to be able to have enough money to pay insurance,
Uh-huh.
have enough money to do renovations on the outside of the building. So this is just keeping the complex up. Like that's
Uh-huh.
what this money is for,
Yeah.
like pool repairs, whitewashing, this, that, and all
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff, fixing the carport, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So
So
they're just trying
like,
to build it up basically.
yeah, so
Okay.
that plus the mortgage like just wipes out all of the any kind of income that you're getting. So you're not
Uh-huh.
like saving any money. So like when you then have, and you have maintenance. So in Cayman, like you have a lot of, it's hot, so you got to make
Mhm.
sure that you have really good AC. So that means you need to maintain your AC and get people out there to do the routine checks,
Yeah.
filters, all that kind of stuff. So when it breaks down, yeah, you definitely have to get it sorted.
Hmm. Wow. Jeez. A lot of experience there.
Yeah. Yeah. So after that, I was like, it also brought, like, I was an out of country landlord because I
Hmm.
was living in Boston and then LA and then managing it from a distance. So because I didn't really understand the numbers going in, I couldn't afford property management because that would have been even more money coming out that I wasn't seeing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then I had to then sort of manage it from abroad and sort of then get people that I knew. The benefit was I was from Cayman, so I
Hmm.
knew people who could be a plumber, or like if I had an issue, I would just call somebody and say, hey, can you go by and check this or check that?
Yeah.
So that really helped a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. How much did you rent that for?
I believe that it was about, I want to say when I bought the property initially, it was like 16. And when I bought the purchase price was like 200 and something, I feel.
Hmm.
So it was definitely not no like it was broken that rule law, like
Yeah.
big time
From the start.
from the start.
Yeah.
And then 16 is what I got the first year. And then every year after that, we were just dealing with like delinquencies and like all kind of other stuff in that particular area because of just the economy at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So the rents actually went down. So I think
Mm-hmm.
by the time I sold it, it was like 1350, like something around there. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like luckily I had cash reserves.
Yeah. Sheesh.
So, but yeah, I would not do that again.
Mhm.
That's why now I'm just like, if you're going to go into that, just sort of make sure you run the numbers and sort of understand
Mhm.
very well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I push for in a lot of like the posts that I do on Instagram, like always
Hmm.
running your numbers, make sure you know all the numbers that are going on. And if you don't know, you could always call the city or, call some other people and figure it out. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cuz
Exactly.
yeah, I know a lot of people that go into it and they don't know. They just see the purchase price and like the rent and then they're like, "Oh, like this is a good
Yeah.
deal." And then it's like there's property tax, insurance, management, yeah, tons of
Right.
other things that go into it.
Yeah. And the strata and the HOAs, you really have to look at them because they can they can change, like they can change in a year with new
Mhm.
strata management. They could just decide that they want to charge more money because they want to make sure that the strata has enough money in its coffers.
Mhm. I wonder if I was thinking about that. I wonder if you could have called them before and they would have like let you know, like, oh, we're thinking about, upping the strata fee or whatever. I wonder. I don't know, but
Yeah, well, this is the thing. So the it's like all the owners are on the strata board.
hmm
Well, not some of they're all on it technically, but not everyone sort of actively participates.
hmm
So like you have the members and the voting members, so like you can choose to be on the board or not.
um,
Also you have to like it's a process with the strata, like
hmm
but yeah.
hmm
At the end of the day, it's like it's not that you don't buy into investments that have HOAs and stratas. It's just you sort of need to understand how the process works and just make sure that the numbers work, even if those things could double.
Yeah, definitely,
So
definitely.
yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, at least you want to break even is kind of,
Yeah.
that's kind of that's kind of where you want to be. That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be losing money.
Yeah,
So yeah.
definitely. Okay, awesome, awesome. And then how did you find that first deal?
So I think I saw it in the newspaper. That's
Really?
pretty,
Wow.
yeah. Because like at that time, I don't know about these days if Cayman continues to show the properties in the paper. I feel like I saw that property in the paper and I was just on the market. I was looking for properties
hmm
to buy. I was looking for townhomes. So yeah, and I just sort of ran into it and I was like, oh, I like it.
hmm
It looks
That's
good.
cool. That's cool. That reminds me of my dad. So my dad was in like college, and
Yeah.
he got an apartment building. Um, and I remember he was telling us how he like this was back in the day when he was in college, and they didn't have the internet. I don't think yet at all.
Uh-huh.
Well, they didn't. And then so they had to flip through a binder. So he was just sitting there like every day, flipping through properties and
Oh, wow.
properties and a binder until he found one. So yeah, it's
Gotcha.
kind of similar.
Yeah,
Newspaper.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
hmm so you're also a real estate syndicator, right? Have you done
Yeah.
any successful syndications or anything like that?
Yeah.
hmm
So I guess moving to like real estate syndications from where I was, right?
Oh yeah, how
In
did
my
you
journey.
transfer? Yeah.
Yeah, like it's definitely been a journey for sure to get to real estate syndication.
hmm
And I'm sure the journey will continue to evolve and transform. Um, but for a long time, I want to say at the beginning, from the point at which I took the job working at the investment manager, and then I started listening to podcasts, so like Bigger Pockets and reading books and all this stuff. And then I was like, wow, like, yeah, like just getting more educated, 1% rule, understanding how to like sort of analyze and run numbers on properties.
hmm
I was now focused on initially living in LA. I was like, you know what? Let me do a duplex, rent one side, live in the other. And then that didn't really prove out to be something that was going to be financially good for me at the time, given my financial resources and the type of prices that LA was showing, as well as the kind of commute that I was willing to deal with.
Mhm.
So like if I was willing to deal with maybe an hour and a half commute, then yeah, I probably could find something, because I could probably move out east, somewhere out there or
Mhm.
wherever to make it happen. But I value quality of life.
Mhm.
And I wanted to keep a nice, good, short commute because, hey, like I'm living now, I'm not living 10, 15 years from now.
Mhm.
So I said, okay, if that's what I value, where do I need to invest?
Mhm.
And that brought me to out of state.
Mhm.
And then I started looking at turnkey and properties out of state. So I played in the turnkey space, like in terms of looking for properties for a good while. I want to say maybe a year and a half or so.
Mhm.
Um, until I found syndication. And through that, I sort of met people. I really wasn't looking for it. I just sort of met people through the process of just continuing to learn about real estate who
Mhm.
were syndicators. And I just love the idea of sort of partnering, working with other people to play in deals, especially when I'm planning on doing so out of state.
Mhm.
And that's sort of how I started to get into the process and just finding people that I trust. I,
Mhm.
met people that I really trusted who were playing in real estate that way. And then together, I've now invested in about 850. So it's two properties. One is 600 units, and the other is two properties of 150 and 100 units. They're all in the Atlanta MSA. So
Atlanta?
yeah,
Oh.
so those ones are all in Atlanta.
Mhm.
And then one of them I was involved in a sub syndication where me and a group of other ladies raised money from investors to be able to invest in the deal that has the two properties. So
Mhm.
the total of 250 units.
Wow.
So it's been an amazing experience,
Mhm.
just sort of going through that for me at this time,
Mhm.
and then continuing to grow from there.
Mhm. Do they keep you like really updated on the property, or are you kind of like a passive investor in that?
Yeah, so they do keep you updated. So a part of the passive investor role, what it looks like is you sort of, first of all, you vet the people, the operators,
Mhm. Of course.
whether you would want to be in business with them,
Definitely.
whether you think that they understand what they're doing, the market, whether they can execute the business plan based on their track record and strategy and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And then
Like due
once you're good,
diligence, kind
yes,
of.
that's your due diligence, that's on the people. And
Mhm.
then after you're comfortable with the people, then I sort of look at the deal.
Mhm.
Then it's like, okay, well, do I like this market? And recently, we'll get to this, but I also have a podcast. And recently, was interviewing someone on my podcast, and I asked them, they're like underwriters and whatever, like, what are some of the first things that they do when looking at underwriting? And she said, I don't need to look at underwriting. I just need to see the address
Mhm.
first. And I go, huh. And the reality is, it's really true. So the second part is really looking at the address of
Mhm.
where that property is located to understand what are the market fundamentals that this market is experiencing. Or is
Mhm.
there job growth? Is there rent growth? What is the average condo price there? What is the average household income? Because those kind of things determine whether it's a place that I would want to put my money.
Mhm.
And then when all that checks out, then starting to then move forward. So this is all as a passive investor. Like
Mhm.
you're able to sort of do those kinds of things, and then you start looking at how is this deal compensated in terms of, is there a preferred return or is there no preferred return, and
Mhm.
then how is the income split as this deal gets executed.
Yeah.
And then once you decide, yeah, you know what, you like all of the different pieces and you decide to invest, then either on a quarterly or monthly basis, based on the PPM document,
Mhm.
distributions will be distributed to investors.
Mhm.
So then generally so on one, it's a quarterly basis, the other is monthly. And
Mhm.
then on a monthly basis, the monthly one will also give reports and updates on the property, like how it's doing, everything from occupancy to renovations and how those are coming along.
Mhm.
And the quarterly one does that on a quarterly basis, and they both provide us with property trial balances, like so P&L, so you can sort of see how the property is going from a financial perspective as
Hmm.
well.
From just straight numbers.
Hmm.
Nice, nice.
So yeah, so that's what you can expect as a passive investor.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Wow. So if any repairs pop up or anything like that, do you
Hmm.
need to invest in the property some more, or?
That's a great question. So, from my perspective, the understanding is that for when they raise the money,
Hmm.
if there are things that come up unexpected, um, they will then have the operator will sort of manage that process and not come like they're not. This is not like a commitment kind of thing where you made like a 10 million maybe $100,000 commitment to this fund, and
Hmm.
they've only called 50,000. So then now they're calling another 50 from you.
Hmm.
No, like you put in whatever money, and then they need to sort of manage that money. And if they then run low on the money, they can then do another raise, which
Hmm.
they would then need to explain to investors, why they need to get more money and et
Hmm.
cetera, et cetera.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it.
But this question came up for me. Like, I think I asked a similar question to someone else. And while I have not had this experience personally,
Hmm.
what that individual told me, and it sort of makes a sense, is that they would, like, if they have unexpected things that come up, what they'll end up doing is they'll start to look at their business plan and determine what areas of their business plan they're going to need to adjust. So
Hmm.
maybe they won't do as many renovations as they intended to do because now they have this situation that they then have to funnel money that way.
Hmm.
So they then have to sort of move things around and then look at other ways in which the property could generate more
Hmm.
income.
Yeah. That seems a little scary though, having to having like them email you and just be like, oh, we're gonna rearrange everything. Seems kind of scary, but
Usually I've never had anyone sort of I've not personally experienced that. And
Mhm.
I don't think they would necessarily like I don't know if they would necessarily like I think that that's always going on in the background. Like you're
Well, yeah.
always as you're execute it's almost like when you're driving, like you get into some potholes and then you start pivoting
Hmm. Yeah,
because
yeah,
you want to miss some of these potholes that are in the road that you
yeah,
weren't
yeah,
expecting to be there.
yeah. It's scary, but yeah, you have to do it regardless. You always have to
Yeah.
manage everything, make sure everything's on track. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
understandable. But like, yeah, if I was just investing tons of money and then I get that email back, like we're gonna restructure everything, you're like, shit, don't
Yeah,
tell me.
yeah. Yeah, as I said, I don't really think that they would go that way, but maybe,
Uh-huh.
I have not experienced that
Yeah, yeah.
personally.
Okay,
But yeah.
okay. That's good though. When did you start? When did you do your first syndication?
So I made my first investment as a passive investor in the summer of last year.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then in the fall of last year, I did the first sub syndication that's more on the active side.
Hmm.
And then now just continuing to build relationships in the marketplace
Hmm.
to then, continue to partner with other people to then, take on more deals and to provide opportunities for myself as well as other investors.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So you mentioned before the sub syndication. Did you want to touch on that at all? Like,
Yeah,
what's the
yeah.
difference between?
So, sub syndication is where essentially you will then create like another LLC. It's almost like a fund to fund. So, there is a fund that's set up to do the main investment into the investment.
Hmm.
And then you can create your own LLC, and that LLC, you are in charge of raising money for it. It should have the same rules as the main. So, in other words, like a 506B raise, if the main is doing a 506B, then the sub syndication will have to do a 506B as well. If the main is doing 506C, then the sub will need to do 506C as well. So
Okay.
they sort of have to mirror each other.
Hmm.
Um, so in that regard, but yeah, you set up your LLC, you raise money, and then that money then goes into the main. Some of the benefits of doing a sub syndication is that that enables you can do like a lower minimum. So like the main might be like say 50K to invest, whereas a sub syndication will be like say 25. And then all that money will then go into the main.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So then that
Okay.
provides opportunities for people who may not have 50, but they
Mhm,
might be able to put together 25, and they
mhm,
want to have the exposure of investing. And then after maybe a couple of years of doing some of those, they then, properties are sold, they get back their investment with friends.
mhm,
They then now are in a position where they could do a 50K investment.
mhm. Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah,
Awesome. Good
yeah.
stepping stone for people then.
Yeah, and gives them exposure into how the whole process works,
Mhm.
and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to
Confidence
the
too.
50. Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
agreed.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. All right. So let's see. Do you have any upcoming projects that you're looking forward to, or any places you're looking to go for your next path?
I think at this point, I think the biggest thing that I'm sort of working on is just continuing to build out my brand.
Mhm,
So one, building out the brand, and then two, continuing to network and meet people,
mhm,
both people who are interested in investing as well as partners,
mhm,
to work together to bring my skills, what I am really good at, to the table, and sort of playing with other people who might be good at things that I'm not very strong at, or maybe live in markets that I don't currently live in.
mhm,
Given that I live in LA, so like things like that. I
mhm.
think that's my focus at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. And
Yes.
then let's see. Where was that other question? Uh-oh. Um, Networking, next project. Um, Shoot. Um, oh, I forgot to mention at the beginning of this
Yeah.
how we met as well.
Oh,
I wanted
yes,
to do
yes.
that. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
so
so I
yeah, you
met
can talk.
you. Yeah, it was very interesting. So I was here in LA. I was at a cafe called Cafe Vita, which I
Mhm,
like to go to. I think it was a Sunday. And you and your mom was at the cafe, and I got seated, and I got seated right next to you guys. And then I saw you were wearing a shirt called Cash Flow is Greater Than Paycheck.
mhm.
And I was like, oh, like, I love your shirt. And then you said thank you, and then that's how the conversation started, because I was like, you know where did you get that shirt from?
Yeah. That's not a usual shirt you see around.
That's right, it's not
Yeah.
a usual shirt, and anyone who's wearing that kind of shirt, you're just like, yeah, these
Uh-huh.
are definitely people who probably are thinking about investing and
Uh-huh.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So yeah,
definitely.
definitely good stuff.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. You're just like, "Oh, I have a podcast about real estate
Yeah.
investing." Wow. Wow.
I
Perfect.
know, it's small world. I law of attraction as well. You attract the people that are similar to you and that are doing all these amazing things. You see
Mhm.
them. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's good. It's
Yeah,
good.
definitely. Yeah, that was funny. That was a funny day. Um, all right, so I think that kind of concludes the podcast. I don't really have any other
Yes.
questions or anything. If more questions pop up, I could always have you back on,
Right, right,
and we can
right.
go from there. So, uh,
Totally.
yeah. So thank you very much for joining the show. What they
Yep.
don't teach you in school. I'll let you do your little exit spiel.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So yeah, if you want to learn more about me, you can definitely check out my podcast. It's called the Level Up REI Show. And that's on iTunes or any of the major distributors. You can also just find it on my website, which is www.lisahylton.com. And that is Hilton with a Y. So just like the hotel, but only thing with a Y.
Nice.
And that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. And everyone have a great day and stay healthy during these pandemic times.
Awesome. Take care, man.
Bye.